About the data arts, I think it's very important for all the customer data security. So I'm going directly to the data security module. Same idea. In 3 minutes, the complete review. Later we can have another session, especially or focus it on in something special. About data security in DataArts, that is part of the data governance, basically we are going to show the 4 main points, or more important, I guess. Number one is the access permission. So from this platform about data governance, you will have the governance about who is accessing your tables or who is looking some tables or some data. So in this part, you can configure the permission, the role management, and also up to the role level. I mean, you can say these roles or these users only can see these rows in the tables. So the idea from here is you can control, you can you have the governance about who has access to tables and which data they can see. So the access permission management is in here in these parts. Basically, is configure the users and the rights they have to see what data. Second, very important, very general characteristic or feature of the DataArts security module is sensitivity. So from here, you can start label your data. This is a good practice to tag your data or label your data. So in this way, you will have a better control of who can see information. For example, typical labels are public information, internal information, confidential information, restricted, and top secret. So you can start labeling your data. How do you look this in the real scenario, in the real life? I'm going to switch here very quick in the data catalog. So I mean, once you have your data label, or yes, they are labels at the end, or tags in general, you can see the summarize, or you can see the results of the labels in the data catalog part. I mean, here is the catalog that you already have in your assets or in your environment, and here column attributes. So once you have all your data labeled in the security level here, you will have these tags. You can, this is important, you have two ways to label your data. Number one is manually, literally click here and say this data is public, this data is confidential, this data is internal, blah blah blah. You can do it manually. Second one, I think is the best option. You can create some classification rules here. No, here. So for example, you can, there is a predefined rules. So for example, if they found some numbers in a string, this is automatically labeled as a phone number, and phone number should be categorized or tagged like confidential. You have a social security number. I mean, the rules we use in regular expression, you can tag it directly to restricted. What? I see a question. If I use tag, the data will be hide if I put that in private. Yes, but you need to say you need to make that policy or that rule explicitly. I mean, how do you see that? Here. In data catalog, you will see here who has access to which data. So yes, once you have your data label here, I mean, this one is secret, this is restricted, this one is public. Here in the permission management or role management, you can configure which one. I mean, if this user can see this part security level, if this role or this user can see public information or confidential information or everything because it's an admin. So you need the two steps. Number one, we can say number one, you need to tag your information with these security levels that you already defined. Once you have your security tags to your data, you can control, or yes, you can control the access here in the permission that you set in these access permission parts. So you needed two parts. Tag your information. Once you have your tag or your information tagged, you can control who can use. Yes, who can do it? Basically, Robux. We're going to say the bad news. What is integrated to data security right now is Data Warehouse, Hadoop, and DLI. Basically, the big data platforms. Right now, these functionality are not available for example, RDS, MySQL, or other traditional data um, services. So this is only available right now at this moment for Data Warehouse, DLI, and MapReduce, basically the big data technologies. I hope in the future they will integrate other platforms, but in right now, only available for those big data in Huawei Cloud. Maybe in the future, I hope they will release and integrate this with other data sources like RDS, for example. I think that will be very good. Okay, and going back because we don't have too much time to the idea. In data security, just summary again. Data permission management in these parts. Data sensitive identification. I mean, you can tag your data basically on the privacy of you want to manage, public, internal, restricted, top secret, blah, blah, blah. You can create any categories, any tags. No problem. And also you can start tagging your data automatically. I mean, you can set some rules here and say, if you find some like regex, regular expression, this pattern like this, like credit cards, automatically tag that information like top secrets, for example, or restricted. I mean, the idea is don't do it manually. This is the important point. So this is another function of the data security. You tag your information so you can have more control based on those security tags. And finally, the privacy protection. I mean, the privacy of your data. Who can see data? Basically, the idea here is there are some masking algorithms. For example, you can truncate, you can replace. For example, replace is very common when you see a phone number. You can say, show me only the first two digits and the rest of the digits replaced by stars or white spaces or dots. You can replace some fields or some data. For example, this is one rule. If you find letter N, replace with one, the number one. So this is the idea. The idea here is you can hide information to users that don't need or should not see information. So we have different algorithms. They can be truncate, literal like hide or delete information. I mean, you don't delete data, only how some users see your data. You can mask some information, or basically you can encrypt in general, for example, with the common algorithm SHA-256. So you have different options to have or to protect the privacy of your data. Once you have these algorithms available, you can start creating the policies. So you would say, for example, this policy, yes, one rule, reconnection rules, some rules that you already make in in other section of the data security parts of the DataArts. For example, identify automatically email that is confidential. What do you want to do to this kind of data? Basically, maybe you want to encrypt or hash or replace by random data. So this is the idea. In the same platform, you can create your policies to hide your information. For example, you're talking about a birthday, maybe you don't want to show birthday, you will encrypt that information. So this is the idea, very easy to use, click, and you have a policy to apply to all your assets, data assets. So at the end, what is the idea? Is the end users that has the right to see the information can see it. Other users that doesn't or should not see the information can see the information. And as you can see, it's pretty easy to use. Basically click, create, and fill these boxes. I think very easy to use. Yes. And also we have watermarks, but I think we can check it later because of the time. I mean, it's 1 hour just for data services is few time. And I think this is very important. Data security diagnosis. I mean, basic checks can be automated. So for example, once you have your data assets loaded or synchronized here in DataArts, there is automatic diagnosis. So, for example, uh, there are different categories. For example, sensitive data mask. If there is a policy that is not applied on some assets, you will see something here like a warning message that's saying that this this column or this data is not masked according to the policies that you already said before. For example, here identification rules say the internal label is never used. So at the end, what we want to show here is you have a very basic monitoring, basic diagnosis about security parts. It can go from identification rules about the security levels, data sensitivity about the policies that you already set, and also, for example, the permissions. So, for example, you will see some users has access to everything. It will say it's a medium risk because it has too many rights or too many permissions. So that's the idea. A very, very basic scanning, basic diagnosis, automated diagnosis that say, oh, there is a potential risk about your data, about the security of your data. I think this is very important because at least you can ensure that there is a basic things that should be scanned or should be mm, diagnosed automatically. And also here you can audit who has access to everything. I mean the log details about who entered to the data warehouse, who entered to the data factory, who entered to the DLI. So you have the access about the audits part of all the services. It can be DLI, Hive, data warehouse. That's what I said at the beginning. No, some minutes ago. Which technologies are compatible with the security model, basically data warehouse, MapReduce service, the Hadoop platform, the MRS, and DLI, big data technologies. So that's the reason DataArts is especially for big data, because also the products that are full compatible with the DataArts are the big data platforms. Okay.